Welcome back. You're watching Monday Special. Remember, the hashtag is Monday Special KE on Twitter, or text us on 22422. We'll get into our discussion in just a few moments. First, let's return to a story we had for you earlier on. NTSA has this evening revoked the license of more than 100 buses belonging to the Ongata Line Sacco. The NTSA also predictably launched a crackdown on public transport vehicles amid public anger at the accident blamed on a speeding bus. A spot check on city roads, however, reveals widespread disregard of traffic laws blamed on NTSA laxity. Hassan Mugambi reports.
Oblivious of the fact that this would be the last time this minibus makes its way under the umbrella of Ongata Line Company, the driver went ahead with business Monday in typical roadhog manner. A sudden stop in the middle of a roundabout. But a quick check on the roads confirms concerns that the Matatu Anak is back in full swing, as evident in those plying the Rongai route. Notice how this Matatu overlaps with impunity. Here, all traffic rules are waved away in shocking defiance and bullying, never mind who has the right of way. 3 in number. The trend is the same with these ones. The madness is replicated in many city roads. On Tomboya Street, these buses have reduced the road to a bus stop. Look at how this conductor approaches this officer and negotiates his way to breaking the law. Before long, his vehicle makes a U-turn, with the officer who should be taking action just looking away. The situation is the same along Accra Road, where traffic police walk past an almost clogged stretch. Never mind that these matatus have caused the jam, picking passengers at undesignated areas. The epitome of the madness is clear in downtown Nairobi, where it is a gridlock on Ronald Ngala Street. Vehicles are queuing behind his bus, hooting to be cleared, but the offender takes his time until he has enough passengers. As if this is not enough, vehicles are driven out of the city at a breakneck speed that leaves you questioning the authenticity of their speed governors, if at all they have any. The blatant disregard of the law sometimes taking place right under the glaring watch of the very authorities supposed to be ironing out the disobedience. The question remaining, when will this come to an end?
And I think I will introduce Francis Major last and give him a chance to respond to that. He, of course, is with the NTSA. Let's introduce you to my panelists, starting with my far left. We have Ken. Ken is a former Matatu driver and is still involved in Matatu business. So maybe he'll give us a glimpse into the kind of pressure they face, or what exactly happens when they seem to disregard the law completely and put people's lives at stake. And then we have George Kelvin Nyaga, who is the founder of Road Safety Volunteers, an organization that tries to really step into maybe what they feel isn't being done on the roads when it comes to accidents, so responding and helping. He'll tell us a little bit more about that. And then we have Wangare. Wangare is the survivor. She's on my far right. She's a survivor of a road accident a few years ago. She lost some of her friends in that accident. She's here to share her story and tell us more about really what she thinks we can do. And finally, Francis Major of the National Transport and Safety Authority. And maybe I can start with you and give you a chance to respond. It's not just the story that Hassan has put out that talks about laxity of NTSA. That's how everyone is feeling. You've come on our shows many times. You've talked about the progress that you say is being made, but people still get a sense that almost nothing is being done. The numbers almost seem to be increasing. The blatant disregard of laws on the roads, again, is another issue. So what exactly is happening?
Well, thank you very much, Janet, and may I take this early opportunity to pass my message of condolences to the families and friends who lost their loved ones in this accident that happened yesterday, and a quick recovery to those who are injured. Yes, there's a problem, and a big problem, because we have a very bad driving culture in this country. It is not acceptable that the only time that you should follow the law is when you say we see NTS officers on the road or the traffic officers on the road. It shouldn't be so. The responsibility of the driver is, first of all, to the people that they are ferrying. And the situation where you have really to, every time, to spot where the police are, or NTS officers, shouldn't be the case. The responsibility is for all of us. But more importantly, what is the role of the passengers? If you look at some of the vehicles that are being mentioned here, there are passengers in these vehicles. They keep quiet when the driver is driving them recklessly until the very last minute.
Okay, can I just stop you there? Leave alone the passengers, EDC. What is the role of NTSA? Maybe take us back to that very briefly.
Yes, we have a central role as a lead agency in safety, and we have a big mandate. Obviously, you know, the issues are many. We will do our best, and we are doing our best to try and reverse the trend. Unfortunately, we have deeply rooted bad driving habits. They will not disappear within a day. But I think what we are looking and focusing in doing now is public education and awareness is critical.
I'll come back to you just a minute, because still we're even seeing officers breaking the law. I think you also work very closely with them. So people are still feeling like not much has been done. Wangari, could you tell us a little bit more about what happened?
It was on December 7th of 2008, and we were leaving a house in South B. We were heading back into town. At the time, Mombasa Road was being constructed, and it was more of a single lane kind of. There was no the dual carriage way. So the matatu that I was in with my friends, of course, was trying to overtake another car. At the time, it was a single lane, so there was an oncoming trailer. So it had a head-on with the trailer, and from behind, the other car hit us from behind. So we were 11 passengers. 8 of them died, 7 on the spot, 1 at the hospital, and 3 of us survived. Yes.
What does it feel like when you, I mean, first of all, I really applaud you and appreciating you coming out here and sharing. That must be probably the most harrowing day of your life. What happens when you think about that day? What does it make you feel? Actually, what I can say is, yesterday I actually passed by, because I live along Langata Road, and he passed by where the matatu had just had the accident, just next to the Langata police station. And every time, even 8 years, it has been 8 years since, of course, what happened, but you still see that, and I still get a chill. Yeah. I still shriek, or I feel like, you know, it's something that can happen. Yeah. And then, of course, you see, maybe at that time, of course, you don't know what had happened to the people there, but you can only imagine. Yeah. Because you can imagine from South B to town is such a short distance for 8 people to die. Yeah. So you, it always pains. It brings a lot of nostalgia, a lot of memories of my friends, young people who had to die for no reason. Yeah. And condolences. Of course, it must be painful thinking about your friends that died. Was there a sense that when you were in the vehicle, people felt unsafe? Was there a sense that the driver was being reckless? Did people try to warn him, or is it just you get in and you just want to get to where you're going, and so you kind of ignore what's happening, whether or not the driver is flouting any rules? What I can say is, personally, I just ignored. Okay. I wouldn't know about maybe the rest of the people, but personally, I actually ignored. And how is it now for you? I mean, do you still use public transport? Yes, I do. All right. Are you more conscious, aware? How do you feel when you can see that they're breaking the rules? Actually, now I can say I'm more conscious. If I get into a matatu, because like I said, I use that route, and maybe it's speeding, or I always try to maybe alight halfway through, maybe pay less, and then just get into another matatu. Okay. It'll never go away. Yeah. That feeling will never go away. Okay. And I always think about it even when I get into the matatu. All right. Yes. We'll come back to you and just ask you more about your road to recovery. Ken, you were a former matatu driver. You still say that you were that you are in the matatu business. You're still involved in the matatu business. How long were you a matatu driver for? For a long time. Yeah. Like 8 years. 8 years. What are the working hours like per day? First of all, so sorry for what happened yesterday. Yeah. Condolences to the families. Yes. Matatu driving is not easy, and it's not hard. All right. So
if you're given long hours to work, for example, you, Janet, you buy a car, Matt, and say 20,000 bob is what I want today.
So no matter what, I have to get it.
I don't give a damn.
Okay.
I'll get 20,000 bob.
You say you don't give a damn, so people's lives are at risk, and I think that's where we're coming to.
I'm saying, for example, we know about it now.
Yeah.
Someone tells you, I want this money and this money today. If you want to work for me, will you do this? Will you give me this money?
Yeah.
I tell you, of course I'll tell you, yes, Mr. Major, what will you say? You don't have a job, what will you say? Yes, I want.
Yeah.
I want a job.
Yeah.
You'll work hard. So, you work hard. Working hard is doing a lot of funny things on the road.
Okay.
No one likes. Nobody likes.
Can you respond to that? Because
Nobody
he's, I think,
likes.
echoing a lot of what maybe they feel. I have to get the money. It doesn't matter. I have to do funny things, he's saying, no one really likes. So knowing that they're breaking the law but doing it anyway.
It's really unfortunate because in 2014 we developed PSV regulations, and one of the things that we knew is what he has just explained, that the owners of these vehicles set specific targets that the operators must, the driver must meet. And as a result of doing that, the driver will do anything possible to break all traffic rules, overlap, to make the target that has been set for him and something extra for themselves. We turned it around and we said the PSV operators must now pay these people and put them on a payroll, just like anybody else. That you must be on a contract where you are paid on a monthly basis.
Do you know if that's been done?
The circles which are behaving are doing it. There are those who will hide and they make all films away to try to get it.
Not follow up.
It's unfortunate that
you did not follow up.
Okay.
You said
let him just let him just answer.
You didn't follow up.
And one of the requirements is actually even to look at things like for medical for their crew, NSSF, NHIF, to take care of their welfare. That is what the law requires.
Okay.
If there are those who are not doing it, then you're in the breach of the law. So, and these circles and companies, that is what they need to do, so that we remove this element of putting unnecessary pressure on the drivers of these vehicles. And we have sensitized them. The regulations are well publicized. We have had sessions with them. The ones who are not conforming, maybe we will catch up with them.
What is your, first of all, tell us a little bit more about the organization you're on, even as you respond to the conversation. Tell us what it's called and when it is that you founded it.
Okay, thank you, Janet. At the start, I want to say apology to the victims of yesterday's accident. Then say that Road Safety Volunteers is a community-based organization. I started the organization in 2011. We have mostly been involved in rescue and road safety campaigns. So most of these accidents that happen, you find us there, trying maybe to marshal traffic before the police come, coordinating so that we have ambulances and maybe fire brigade. Some of them are so serious, the vehicle has to be ripped off, and such kind of activities.
What made you start it? Was it from a personal experience?
Mine is out of passion. I really have a passion on the line of road safety.
Yeah.
And also out of experience. In around 2006, 2007, I was thrown out of matatus in a number of times. Like Mr. Francis is saying, a vehicle is being driven recklessly, you try to complain. The next stop, you tell the police, this vehicle is being driven recklessly. Then everybody in that vehicle turns against you. And the policeman asks you, now if there are no other people to support you, everybody is trying to look at their time, they are saying you are stubborn. So I had to be thrown out of the matatu 2 or 3 times. And it was a very bad experience. And sometimes we respond to very serious accidents. It's very painful when people again start saying the driver was drinking something, the driver was drunk, the driver was driving recklessly, and all of you are quiet.
Do you still use public service vehicles, and do you still make noise about it when you see the behavior is wrong?
I do. Yeah. I do make a lot of noise when I'm using public service vehicle. The whole of this week I've been in Mombasa and last week. And I was using PSV all the time, all that 1 week. And I was impressed some of the vehicles, the way they are being driven. Maximum speed is 80. The drivers are driving very well. And you can't even complain. Passengers have their belts on. So I think the citizens have a lot of power. That is one thing people need to understand. As much as we want to blame NTSA, we want to blame the police and the government, then we need to understand we have more power. If we support each other in a vehicle, I can assure you that no vehicle will be driven recklessly. But when you are alone in a matatu with maybe that 3 passengers, and you are just 1 or 2, others are just looking at their time, they don't want to make that sacrifice, then the price for that ends up being very expensive, because that driver will do the same tomorrow and the day after. But if today everybody gets out of my vehicle, being a matatu, or maybe they support each other, and the police will charge that vehicle based on public outcry, that driver will not do that tomorrow again, because they'll know, even if the police are not around, then the citizens are everywhere and they are able to take action.
Okay, perhaps, have you ever worked with the NTSA or approached them so that maybe there's a bit of synergies there?
Mr. Major is my friend,
okay,
and the NTSA have been supporting me, right, and the Kenya National Highways Authority. So we work together. Yeah,
this is a cultural thing, Mr. Major, and I think we've already established that. So how do you even begin to undo that? But still, a lot of people, before you answer that, still a lot of people feeling like the NTSA is, to some extent, the word they're using is toothless. Yes, there's regulations that you put out there, rules. Some are being followed. A lot of the time they aren't. We understand that the Ongata Line Circle, some of the vehicles are still operating even after the arrests that were made. So is it that the capacity isn't there, or is there something more as to why we're not seeing the law being followed?
I think the first thing is obviously capacity is there, and we are addressing. We have also been having a big challenge because enforcement is not necessarily in our hands. But we are now in the process. We have some police officers who will be joining us from 1st of October, who will be directly attached to NTSA. That will enable us to be more effective in terms of enforcing the law. But I also think so that as he said, the citizens have the power to stop some of these things. And one thing that we must discourage, a situation that you only obey the law when officers are there. It shouldn't be the case. It should be out of your feeling that you are not safe. But this selfish idea that I want to rush, I'm getting late, I will keep quiet, this is what is finishing us as a country. But what we are doing as NTSA to change that is that we are realizing that there's a need, there's a serious need, even for SACCOs, because the essence of the regulation, PSV regulation 2014, is a move towards self-regulation. We realize that they have capacity gaps. This financial year we've committed a budget to train these SACCOs, officials specifically, on how they can manage effectively their SACCOs in a way that now some of these issues of can be minimized.
Very quickly, we'll take a few questions that are coming up on social media before we get some of the closing comments here on this discussion. The first question is from Shea Bahati. Does NTSA have a page where Kenyans can record and post misbehavior on the roads? Yes or no, very quickly. We'll just look at the questions. And NTSA, how do you talk to a driver whose cabin is covered and loud music is on? How do they pass inspection? I hope you're taking note of some of these questions. We'll just see if there's more. Corrupt and road traffic police officers play a huge role in most of the road accidents in our country. Okay, and then I lived and worked in LA for the past 15 years. Much as we blame corruption, the roundabout is erroneously placed on a junction. So the last two are the comments. So yes, regulation of the vehicles, loud music, tinted windows. The vehicle has completely been transformed to a point where it just isn't, there's no regulation there. So how do you inspect such a vehicle? And why are they on the roads?
Let me tell you, Janet.
Yeah, very briefly.
When these vehicles go for inspection, they are very clean. No loudspeakers, nothing. Immediately they leave the inspection centers. They install those equipments.
So that means we need to go back and keep...
So I think what it needs to do is constant.
Yes.
But of course, it will be very difficult for us to have that, develop that capacity that we have to inspect every matatu every day. That is the role the SACCO or the companies are supposed to do. Self-regulation. Yes.
Okay, there was a previous question as well, the first one. Trying to remember it. The tweets went really quickly, so I'll try and remember that. As we wind up, I think, Wangari, as someone who's been not only a survivor, but someone who's now conscious about safety in vehicles, etc., do you agree with the thought that it starts with the passenger, with passengers speaking out, when they're in a vehicle where the driver is reckless, or is there more that needs to be done by the likes of NTSA? Where do you think the problem really lies? Is it regulation? Is it us?
I think the main problem, of course, comes the regulations. If they're not being upheld, then of course, even me as an individual in the matatu, if I speak out, like he said, I'll just be thrown out, and these things will be done again and again. And like they've said, people only, when they spot the NTSA or the police officers, is where now these things, where people now start, let's change, let's wear seatbelt, you know, let's turn off the music. And again, as individuals, of course, we have a part to play in it, because it's your life. So it's better you be kicked out of that matatu than you stay and then you lose your life for no reason at all. So all of us have a part to play in it, but they just need to find a way how they'll be able to manage this matatu, the problems with the matatus. Definitely, they just need to find a way.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your road to recovery been like, Wangari, as we wind up hearing from you? What has it been like? How have you managed to, over the last 8 years, come to where you are now? You know, you're seated here narrating an extremely harrowing story where you lost your friends. You were in hospital for quite a while. I think we saw some of the images as well. How were you able to get from there to here?
It took a lot of... I actually went for counseling because it was hard. You know, one day, like 5 of your friends are just gone. And these are people that I was with on a daily basis. So it was very difficult for me. So I had a lot of head trauma, so I had to do a lot of counseling. And of course also my parents had to come in and also help me with the counseling. My brother had to come back home and help me also, because they all knew these people. So it took a lot of time. Then I went to the university and I went very far away. And again there was that, but the good thing is my parents were very supportive, always calling, always finding out. And then again, traveling again, even a long distance used to be very difficult for me. But again, I came into, once the injuries, they went away, I went back to doing, the counselor would tell me, do the things that you love. So I love playing rugby. So I went back to the field and I started from scratch, and I continued till now.
Do you share your story as a way to inspire people, or is it something you're considering, just being able to share with people who've been through something similar?
Actually, many a times when I share it, and I always share it with a smile on my face, people don't believe it. But the thing is, I'm very happy to be alive. And even when I tell people, I got a second chance to live, and that's why I always say it with a smile. So I always tell people, just out of the blue, you know, like, by the way, you know, I survived a road accident where 8 people died, and they go like, no, that's not true. And at least when I tell people, they realize, if Wangari went through this, I mean, I should be grateful for my life. Yes.
We're grateful for your life, and thank you for sharing your story, for being such an inspiration. You know, condolences for what you went through, and I just hope you'll continue to reach out to so many people and be an example of what road carnage does, I think, to us all. I think we'll just wind up very quickly and get a closing comment from you as well, in terms of how can people even spot members of your organization, by the way? Because you say you're the ones who are like traffic marshals, etc. So when an accident happens, first of all, how do you get tipped off? How do you respond?
We have a hotline which operates 24 hours. The number is 0707 909 000. We are also on Twitter. You can tag us if there is an accident. Then we'll try and do our best to coordinate any kind of help that is needed. Apart from also taking part in road safety campaigns, working with other stakeholders. And on closing remarks, what I would like to say is that accidents are very, very painful. And the reality hits you when you become a victim. I talk to people, one accident I can get even 20 calls, just one accident like one that has happened a few minutes ago when I was coming here. So the reality hits you when you become a victim. And we shouldn't wait for that time to come. If you see a vehicle being driven recklessly, maybe matatu or any other kind of vehicle, then take your time, sacrifice, look for even that circle. Even before you go to NTSA, you can even look for the circle, talk to the management. You can put that maybe on social media, and I'm sure if that management receives 5 or 10 complaints about that vehicle, even that circle management, I think it would be very wrong if they are going to ignore, because no circle manager or vehicle owners would like to have their vehicles in garages every time, their vehicles killing people and such kind of things. So let us take it upon ourselves. Let us not wait until when it hits us to understand how painful accidents can be.
Okay, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Ken, finally, before you go, what would you want to say? Because we've heard, you know, from Wangare and from Francis as well as George, and the thought of its passengers, it's on us, but it's also the onus of the Matatu drivers to take a sense of responsibility on what they're doing on the roads. So do you think the culture can ever change? Do you think there will come a time when these rules will be obeyed to the book, so that we see less of these accidents?
Yes, yes. If I may say, accidents, an accident is an accident, right? So, as drivers, my fellow drivers, all drivers, should first of all have the letters in book with Mr. Major, right?
Yeah.
He issues licenses, right?
Yeah.
And on Langata Road, for example, Langata Road, I'm talking about Langata Road. Let's go to the on that speed of Langata Road. There were bumps after yesterday's accident. I will a bit blame the government of yesterday's accident, because there were bumps there. Do you remember those rumble bumps that were there before the police station? That's a T-junction. That's not a roundabout. Okay, the driver was at speed, but you see those rumbles that were there. You remember them? I do.
So the roads as well need to be managed and maintained. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think.
So it's everyone's role, yeah.
They were scrambled a while ago, like 5 months ago, 6 months ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yesterday could not have happened. That could not have happened yesterday, right?
You agree with that?
But I think here, you see, the section where this accident happened is the limit. Is an area where it's within the maximum speed limit of 50. And unfortunately, as Kenyans, we only observe physical barriers to control us from speeding, as opposed to signage.
Okay.
If there was an observation of signage, and that person was obeying at 50 kilometers, there is no way, absolutely no way, that accident would have happened.
Very quickly, is there a page where people can reach you? There's someone who asked that, an NTSA page where people can alert and say...
Yes, we are. And
it's active?
It is active, and we are responding to this, and actually we encourage people to communicate. And then we can pick some of these complaints from them and address them immediately.
Will we see more being done, whether or not there's an accident? I think people say you react too much. There's an accident.
Let me say this, Janet. Many Kenyans do not observe and are not keen when there are no such crises. Last week there are 5 circles we suspended. They did not cause an accident, but we've been monitoring these circles offline in terms of speed, monitoring the speed in which they are moving, and we suspended them. But majority of Kenya don't know that. They only take keen interest when there's a fatal accident like the one which happened yesterday. That shouldn't be the way. All right, let's hope more changes. Thank you as always for watching. We'll come back, I think, shortly. If there's any feedback on Monday's special, stay with us.